Imagine a horse becoming one of the most powerful characters in France. Not a brave horse or a wise horse, but a greedy and dishonest horse that everyone suddenly treats like a king. This strange horse is called Fauvel, and his story is one of the weirdest works of the Middle Ages. But Le Roman de Fauvel is not only a funny story about a bad horse. It is also full of music. Some parts were meant to be sung, with voices mixing together in new and exciting ways. Through music, people from the 14th century could laugh at Fauvel, criticize powerful leaders, and remember the message of the story. So in this video, we will discover how one very bad horse became part of music history. But first, we need to understand the world where Fauvel was born, a France full of hunger, war, sickness, anger, and unfairness. Part 1. A century of trouble in France. The 14th century was one of the hardest periods in French history. Many disasters happened close together: famine, war, plague, heavy taxes, and violence. Ordinary families often suffered the most. Famine meant there was not enough food for everyone. Most people lived in villages and depended on good harvests. When crops failed, food became rare, prices went up, and many people were hungry. Then came the 100 Years, war between France and England, a long fight about land, power, and the French crown. For ordinary people, war meant soldiers crossing the countryside, villages being attacked, farms being destroyed, and taxes becoming heavier. The Black Death, also called the plague, made everything worse. It was a deadly disease that killed millions of people across Europe. People did not understand germs, so they were terrified, and sometimes believed it was a punishment from God. After years of suffering, some peasants rebelled against the nobles in the Jacquerie riots in 1358. They were angry because they worked hard, paid taxes, and suffered during wars, but had almost no power. The revolt was violent, and it was crushed violently too. In the 14th century, medieval society was divided into 3 estates. The nobility included lords, ladies, knights, and powerful families. They owned land and castles, and they were supposed to protect the country. The clergy included priests, monks, and bishops, whose role was to pray, teach religion, and guide people. Many helped the poor, but some church leaders were rich, greedy, and powerful. The third estate was everyone else: farmers, bakers, builders, merchants, craftspeople, and workers. They worked a lot and were not rich. They often felt that the rich and powerful demanded too much from them. They produced food, made goods, paid taxes, and kept the country alive, but they had the least power. So the people were tired and unhappy. Many felt that powerful people cared more about money and pride than justice. This is exactly the kind of world where a story like Le Roman de Fauvel makes sense. Part 2. Philippe de Vitry, a composer in a troubled world. Now let's meet Philippe de Vitry, one of the most important musical figures connected to this story. He was born in France in 1291. We do not know much about his childhood, because people in the Middle Ages did not leave photos, interviews, or school reports like today. We do know that he became very well educated. He probably studied music, poetry, religion, mathematics, and writing. In the Middle Ages, music was closely connected to numbers and patterns, so a composer also needed to be a strong mathematician. As an adult, Philippe de Vitry worked close to the royal court, served as a diplomat, and later became Bishop of Meaux, an important leader in the church. He knew kings, officials, and powerful people from the inside. That is what makes him interesting. Vitry was close to the King of France, but he could also see that the country had serious problems. He understood the danger of flattery, which means praising powerful people just to get money, protection, or influence. Vitry is famous for his connection to Ars Nova, meaning new art. Before that, composers used Ars Antiqua, or old art. Ars Antiqua could be beautiful, but its rhythms were more limited. Ars Nova gave musicians more freedom to write flexible rhythms and rich polyphonic music. A simple way to imagine it is this: Ars Antiqua is like walking with a steady step, while Ars Nova is like dancing with turns, pauses, claps, and changes of speed. Vitry was admired by important thinkers, including the famous Italian poet Petrarch. Philippe de Vitry died in 1361 at about 70 years old, a remarkably old age for the 14th century, after living through famine, war, political problems, and plague. His life shows us that medieval music was not just decoration. It could be clever, serious, political, and connected to the world around it. Part 3. Le Roman de Fauvel, the book, the horse, and the music. The story was written in the early 14th century. Its main author was probably Gervais Dubus, a clerk who worked in royal administration. Philippe de Vitry used some of these texts to compose music. This means he knew the world of government, ambition, and power from the inside, which helped him make fun of corruption. The work survives in several manuscript copies, but the most famous version is kept in Paris at the Bibliothèque Nationale de France. This manuscript includes text, pictures, and many musical pieces. It is almost like a medieval comic book, songbook, and political cartoon all at once. The story is a satire, which means it uses humor to criticize serious problems. Fauvel is a horse who becomes powerful, even though he is full of terrible qualities. His name is often understood as a hidden message. Each letter can stand for a vice or bad quality. F for flattery, praising powerful people to get something. A for avarice, wanting too much money or wealth. U for villainy, the act of doing wicked things. In the Middle Ages, U and V were often considered the same letter. V for vanity, being obsessed with your own importance. E for envy, wanting what others have. And L for laziness or cowardice, refusing to do what is right. This horse was indeed an awful character. Together, these vices show that Fauvel is not just a funny horse. He is a symbol of corruption, selfishness, and dishonest power. And this was a very bold message for the time, because openly criticizing kings, nobles, or church leaders could be dangerous. Instead of attacking powerful people directly, the author used a ridiculous horse to make fun of corruption in the royal court, especially the world around King Philip IV of France, also called Philippe le Bel. In the story, Fauvel rises to the top, and many people come to serve him. Nobles, churchmen, and ordinary people brush him, praise him, and treat him as if he deserves honor. The joke is funny, but the message is serious. Corruption grows when people help it instead of resisting it. Later in the story, Fauvel wants to marry Fortune, who represents luck and success. Fortune refuses him, so he marries Vainglory, which means empty pride. Together, Fauvel and Vainglory have many little Fauvels, or Fauveaux. These children are also shown as nasty and foolish, meaning that corruption does not just stay in one place. It spreads and creates even more bad behavior. Music is one of the most important parts of the famous manuscript. It contains chants, songs, and motets. A motet is medieval vocal music, where several voices may sing different words or melodies at the same time. Imagine singers weaving their voices together like musical threads. Some pieces are close to the older Ars Antiqua style, while others show the newer Ars Nova style. This makes the manuscript a bridge between old and new music, at a time when composers were experimenting with rhythm, notation, and polyphony. Philippe de Vitry is often connected to some of the more advanced motets in the Fauvel manuscript, even if scholars are careful about exact attributions. The work also mixes languages. Much of it is in Old French, while some musical and religious parts use Latin. The music was probably performed mainly by voices, sometimes by one singer and sometimes by several. Instruments may also have been used, such as harps, fiddles, flutes, or small organs. But we cannot know exactly how every performance sounded, because medieval music gives us clues, not recordings. That mystery is part of what makes the work exciting today. Modern performers have to study the manuscript like detectives and make careful choices to bring the music back to life. Part 4. Why does Le Roman de Fauvel still speak to us today? Because Fauvel is not just a horse from an old manuscript. He is a symbol of corruption, selfishness, lies, and empty pride. The story asks a question that still matters today. Do we follow what is right, or do we simply follow whoever has power? For children and teenagers, this can connect to school, friendships, teams, or online spaces, where popularity is not always the same as fairness. The work also matters because it left a strong trace in music history. Le Roman de Fauvel helps us understand the change from Ars Antiqua to Ars Nova, when composers began writing rhythm in new and more flexible ways. It also shows that music was not only used for prayer, dancing, or entertainment. Music could tell a story, make a joke, criticize powerful people, and help listeners remember an important message. More than 700 years later, Fauvel still has something to teach us. When we see lies, greed, or unfairness, we can choose whether to support them or question them. That is why Le Roman de Fauvel is a story about music, power, courage, and the importance of telling the truth. And this is why this masterpiece still holds such a special place in music history. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel to discover more captivating stories about the composers, pieces, and events that shaped music. See you soon!